This is Dishing with Dad. I'm Mark.
And I'm Alexis.
What are we talking about today?
Well, I kind of basically flipped a coin right before we started recording this. And the two topics you and I were kind of in between were technology and religion. The coin said religion. So I don't know, whatever deity wants us to talk about religion apparently was like, let's talk about religion on this one.
Well, it is the Easter time period and other going on. So why not?
Dad, I feel like religion can be very generational, right? It's like, oh, well, my father was this, and my grandfather was this, and my mother was this so-and-so religious leader in the tribe, or what have you, right? So, I mean, we hear those stories, and they kind of go back. So tell us a little bit about your religious background.
Oh, history is very simple and that straightforward. Grew up in a household is primarily Catholic, Italian and Filipino, pretty heavy Catholic. And so if you're not Catholic, you're nobody else in that household. And we were very, did Sunday school, did the whole 9 yards, First Communion, confirmation, everything you can name. I went through all those classes, went to church every Sunday right after, because, confirmation and religious classes were right before church. Hiked over to church. We actually had our own seats, basically, that we'd taken like the second row pew.
Like seats in the church, or?
Yeah. No, it's like every Sunday. How in small towns, people are like, oh, well, that's so-and-so seat. It just becomes that way,
Mm-hmm.
And that was the same thing that happened with us. We just kind of ended up in those seats every week. And like, okay, which actually was kind of cool in that sense. You just had that, everybody knew,
Yeah, of course.
I mean, even in a sense, when we were in Hagerstown with you, yeah, same thing. Everybody kind of knew that, that second or third row was where we were going to park it on the side entrance. I never asked you this, but now if I'm thinking about it and we're talking about it, when you were with the choir or doing other things for the church, did you feel more connected during
for sure.
the performance time, even during the performance time?
During the performance? Not really, no. I felt more connected when I was like part of the group. And then so for example, like singing psalms, like Catholic psalms tend to be, they can be a lot of call and response, which I love. I loved that. I always felt very connected that way, especially when I was the one calling for it, and then having the response back was really nice. I don't know if that's also just because like I have anxiety, but whatever. It was nice. It was very comforting, and a lot of the words and a lot of the ways that the songs were created, the actual sounds they were created, especially like when you look at Georgian chants and you look at Benedictine and you go back through and do all the history and the music theory behind it, right? Like it was really cool. Like it had like that ground, that connection, that root, right? So that I thought was always really, really cool and really connected me to a lot of stuff, right? But
I always felt like I always felt it like I always thought it was pure business, because today I'm performing. I got to focus on what's coming up next versus thinking about what's in the now that I had everybody perform.
Yeah.
So did you ever just sit up there and you provided the psalm and everybody just was supposed to mirror you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm singing this really well. Now I got to hear the rest of the crowd. Do you ever think like, oh my gosh, there's some bad people out here?
Okay. I'm happy you asked that.
And by the way, that's bad for religion. You're in a church and you're thinking bad things about people that are
First of all, I didn't even answer the question. So like, I think you need to calm down like a lot here. Secondly, no, I actually thought that it was, I never had that issue with it. For me, it was mostly like, I could hear occasionally like off-tune people or what have you, but I was really happy because I could hear them, which meant that they felt comfortable enough to actually sing.
Okay.
And that to me was way more important than anything else. It was more about keeping pace, because sometimes like people really want to drag it out and they like really feel the song and they really feel the response or whatever. And I'm like, no, like I have other verses to get through. The priest is looking at me like, why are you taking forever? Why are we slowing down now? Like we gotta go. Like, you would have, especially like certain priests would be like very finicky. So even before mass would start, they would come up to me and be like, hey, so you're singing this song today, right? Yeah, okay, make sure it doesn't last too long. And I'm like, yes, sir. Like,
I did not know that.
Yeah, we're gonna keep our mouth shut about who said that, but
that was gonna be my next question. Since
No. To be frank, I can't even remember half of. I remember like the priests that I liked, but the priests who kind of gave me stuff like that beforehand, I was like, I can just leave. You can just sing
This is
this yourself.
volunteer, don't you
Yeah,
know?
this is volunteer
Yeah.
work, by the way. Music liturgy. This is all volunteer. I can just leave. Who was the most religious? Was it Gammer or was it Papa? So was it your mom or your dad?
It's very difficult to say. Okay. My mom, she kept us very well, making sure we didn't miss class, making sure we were there at church type of routine. But as far as the celebrations are concerned and honoring, holidays and things like that, my dad was pretty good with that as well. He made sure it was midnight mass for him. It wasn't the 7 o'clock. It wasn't the next morning. It was if it required a midnight mass, that's what we're going to. Things like that. But like you, he actually was in the choir for a bit too.
I actually didn't know
And
that. I didn't know that.
oh yes, he was, and he really enjoyed doing it. So he was a very big participant in the church when he had the time. So it was nice to a nice memory in that sense of that he did that and he really liked doing it. Not as in tune as you, but but not too many people will be. But I think that's also another reason why he connected with you when you were doing it, because it brings back just like anything else when we talk about wine, it brings back the memory, the feeling
Yeah.
of doing it.
Well, gosh,
So
now
I
I'm
think that was
really happy I was able to sing Ave Maria at his funeral then.
no, oh yep. I mean, he heard it many a time for you, so that was a perfect song for him. So yeah, and
Oof,
Ave
I'm
Maria
about
is
to cry.
but yeah, that's it was nice being able to do it, and that's our family. So we're family, I'd say, I don't want to say 50-50, but pretty close.
Yeah.
As far as who pushed what, I feel like I got both out of them.
Now, when you met Mom, was she at all religious or?
I would say not as much as I, okay,
Yeah.
but she definitely had kept the faith, and so to speak. She's a Catholic as well, so so she definitely understood and did everything that Catholics do, and so it's she's part of it, definitely.
Was religion at all any part of the decision to send me to Catholic school? Because that was a formative
No,
part of my. Okay.
no, not at all. Nope, we already had you in the classes going whether or not you were in private school at that point or not. But it made sense because plus it was only pretty much the only private school in town, so to speak.
It was a Catholic
It
school.
only made it only made natural sense for us to send you to Catholic. I mean, if we're going to make a choice between some of the other private schools out there, well, why not send you to do the religion we're already part of in that sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't want to feel like we forced it on you. I mean, you always had a choice whether or not you wanted to continue
Yeah.
at that stage.
I was gonna say, I feel it was interesting because I feel like after a while, I was actually the one who was like, "Let's go to church today," even if I wasn't singing or performing or whatever. I was like, "Let's go."
Yep.
Yeah, I was
No,
really
certainly.
invested in it.
No, certainly, and that's always been the interesting part. Is like, okay, over time, other priorities come into place, especially as you've gotten older and become an adult. Have you been going as much?
So I'll preface that with saying, I grew up Catholic, obviously, because you guys kind of raised me Catholic. And, so I spent most of I went to middle school and high school was Catholic school for me. During elementary school, I did, First Communion. I did all of those things. I went to Sunday school, etc. I always loved it. I always enjoyed it. I always found I had a really good relationship with God, or at least I enjoyed having it. Nowadays, I don't remember the last time I've been to church. I'd say a good chunk of that is, frankly, I don't appreciate feeling so boxed in. I don't appreciate how exclusive Catholicism feels. It's interesting because a
Okay.
couple of days ago, for the first time in years, I found the cross that Papa and Gamera had given me for my first communion. And I put it on and it felt very comforting. But to say that I identify as Catholic nowadays would be hard for me to say.
Yeah.
Because I'm frankly angry. I'm angry at the leadership. I'm angry at how exclusive it feels. I'm angry at how people want to take religion. This doesn't have to be just Catholics or Catholicism.
Yeah.
It's all everybody. But people find that they have an issue with how they want to read scriptures and how they want to do this, and it feels too exclusive for me, and I don't like that. So I had to distance myself.
Okay.
And so it makes me kind of sad because I really do feel like I miss that community. But I also feel like right now I'm just kind of doing my own exploration, and I'm doing my own talking to God. And at one point, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like, God, what was I like? Was I in high school or something like that? It wasn't. I don't think it was like confession, right? Because of course I'm not going to tell my parents about confession, right? Like this, or
Right.
anybody
Yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
The
So
whole point about
that kind of defeats the purpose.
yeah, the whole point about a Catholic confession, for those of you who might not know, is that you go and you confess your sins to a priest, right? And then they usually give you some activity or something you do to help you reconnect to God, to repair your relationship with God. That might be 10 prayers, or they recommend community
Cool.
service, or what have you, right? Were you gonna add something, Dad?
Nope. I was just saying, Hail Marys, things like that. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. And not like the funny Hail Mary movies, or
Yeah.
like football thing. No, like the prayer Hail Mary. But no, I remember praying one day, or like talking to a priest one day, and I said, um, I really like talking to God, and I really, I don't mind confession. It feels awkward to me, but like, I'm a young teenage woman. Like, of course, it's gonna feel awkward telling a man in a box like what my sins are. That feels a little weird, right?
Yep.
So I asked him. I was like, well, why do I need to talk to? Why do I need to confess through you to God? Why can't I just talk to him and just make these amends on my own?
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's just better to talk to me about it. Like, he didn't really give me a good reason. He just kind of said, it's better to talk through a mouthpiece to God. And I was like, why? And he's like, because I'm a priest. And I'm like, okay, well, there's no women priests. Why can't I talk to a woman priest? And he's like, because girls can't be priests. And basically, like, it kind of felt like I was told that my prayers meant less than his.
If you didn't go through him.
If I didn't go through him. And that's kind of also why I don't really appreciate Catholicism in that regard. Like, I don't appreciate this need to go through a middle party to talk to and repair my relationship with God. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it was rough. Yeah. It was rough.
Well, no, and sometimes self-reflection is part of the journey in that sense, okay? And that's why I was curious about the subject, because it's more like, okay, I know a lot of people as they grow up, they move away from the regimen of every Sunday going to church, things like that, or Wednesday and things like that. And then and a lot of people then, as they get older, especially after retirement, they come back to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is very interesting. But throughout that time, as I don't want to say if you pulled yourself away from the day-to-day religion commitments, do you feel like you're frowned upon because you have, but yet you still follow? So for example, okay, during Lent here, I still do Fish Fridays. Don't get me wrong, I try to do a lot of Fish Fridays myself in general, because you got to throw that in there every so often. But I do focus on that, okay? I don't find myself on Ash Wednesday going to church for Ash too much, but I still follow the fasting aspect of, and that's just, I don't know how that became part of me, but it is, and that's why I follow.
It's part of your
for
ritual.
myself. Yeah. So, but I kind of don't do the give up something for Lent thing.
Yeah. Well, somebody had said that, like, you could add something, for example, right? Like, if the whole thing about Lent, for those of you who don't know what Lent is a period of time that Christians, and especially Catholics, the way I understand it, is that they usually take away something, right? So they say, okay, for 40 days, because it's supposed to reflect the 40 days that Jesus spent in the desert. For 40 days, I'm not going to eat chocolate, or something like that. For 40 days, I'm not going to have steak.
And it's always a simple.
Usually, it's a simple
thing that people kind of give up. But for some people, it's a huge habit, though, and it is a, I definitely respect them for being able to do that for that long. It's 40 days, but unfortunately, a lot of them just stray right back to it, because I respect what they do, because it's tough. Just giving up even a small thing. Let's just say I give up drinking beer. Okay, now is that really what you would consider hardcore, unless you're doing it every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like once a week that you did it. It's like that's kind of a token offering. You know what I mean? So and that's why I've kind of just given up on giving up something, because to me it's disingenuous. Okay, for me. It's not for a
No,
lot of other people, but not it
and
isn't. It is for me. But I still feel connected, though. That's just it. I
yeah,
don't need to perform all the operations of a Catholic to feel
sure.
connected.
Well, and I think that that's part of what I don't necessarily appreciate about super regimented religion is that it just
Yeah,
there's less opportunity to explore how you as a person connect to religion versus how you as a member of this community connect to religion. And I
yeah.
think
See, I always
so
view
in
that.
some
I was,
cases those relationships, like those communities, get a little too intense for me, and
yeah,
that's kind of why I backed away for a little bit. I was like, I need to be able
yeah.
to have my own
I would
relationship
love.
with God, not through you. You know,
Yeah, I would
it's
love to
codependent.
just find a place that kind of is a lot more participatory and other things outside of just straight church. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They have a lot of activities like that. People just form more community versus just
yeah,
religion. In that
yeah.
sense, sure, it's all guided by God, and I'm not going to frown poop on the intent there, and
Mm-hmm.
not be dumb about it. But that's when I've yet to find a place like that, which you feel like is more community based than it is religious based in some senses.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Well, and
but
I think
then
that
I volunteer.
and those communities totally exist. Could I find one?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Am I ready to? I'm not sure. Part of me
Yeah,
isn't
I've
sure.
tinkered and thought about it, but it's like I'm still moving around a lot, and I don't want to get
Mm-hmm.
hooked into a community and then all of a sudden say
It
bye
gets
bye.
really hard to
Um,
leave. Yeah.
yeah, because then again now I'm stuck looking again. So I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe something will call to me one day when I'm walking by
Mm-hmm.
and run with it, but I don't know. But so but I feel firmly believe that I mean, I don't say a deep believer, but I'm a believer and I follow my religion. But there are a lot of people out there that's like, oh well, you don't, pun intended, religiously go to church every Sunday or do Bible study every Wednesday. You are
Yeah.
not a real, you know,
Catholic. You're not a real Catholic.
yeah,
No, I agree. And to me, I'm like, if you feel the need to put somebody down because they're doing what they can and what they feel that they should in order to respect God, that to me is a big red flag as to my priorities aren't the problem here. Maybe it's yours.
yeah. Because in the
And
end, I'm like, in the end, what you could almost say is like, you literally feel, you're telling me I'm not a true believer in my religion when the reality is we are all talking to something that we don't know and understand and
mhm.
is not physical.
Oh, that is such a pet peeve of mine when people are like,
Oh,
oh, they're like, but I know God would want this. And I'm like,
do you?
oh, tell me more. What does he sound like?
And please, actually, no, please, actually, let's actually go visit the person that we're talking about here because you're obviously seeing him for real.
You are so connected because you told me that and yet you're over here preaching the fear of God, saying none of us know what God's will is, and
Yep.
then that one issue comes up, and you're like,
Yep.
no, I know God would want this. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
that's also a big reason
And
why I had to step back.
And well, I step away from those people that are like that. But if it's the whole place, step
Yeah.
back. You know what I mean?
Well,
Because
I will say
over the years, I've read plenty. Like I've read the latest book by Pope Francis when he was alive. Astounding book because he definitely does not preach straight up in your face. He is basically like wine. It's what suits your taste. Okay. But the important thing is that you bring yourself back and understand what you really want. And I thought that was very astounding. I think that was kind of changed me from, I don't want to say moving from one track to another.
I was able to be part of this project that was essentially like sort of a documentary project talking about the three different Abrahamic religions. So Islam, Judaism, and they pick Catholicism as the Christianity branch. And kind of talking about the similar rituals. And you kind of asked earlier about like, do I follow any of these rituals? Do I follow any of these things still?
Yeah.
I miss that too. Like it was interesting because one of these rather new age, frankly, woo-woo therapists that I'd seen for a while, and I loved her. I just cannot afford her anymore. She was like, look, there's something to be said about religion, especially organized religion, that you have these rituals and these rites of passage, especially when you're talking about through the ages, that really connect you to community, that connect you to history, that connect you to being a human in this world. You're talking about baptism. You're talking about when you become a full adult in the eyes of the church. That means,
Yep.
bar mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs, talking about all sorts of celebrations, talking about different
Absolutely.
different movements through the year, like Ramadan or Eid or things like that, and marriages and all kinds of things. And so like that is kind of what I miss.
Yep.
And she said, look, even if you're not part of an organized religion, you can still find your own, create your own rituals. So yes, there are some things that I still hold on to, that from my Catholic background. And I'm not going to say I'm not Catholic. I just don't really know what I am anymore, to be honest, because
I myself like to feel like so a lot of my beliefs were formed up from being taught as a Catholic, and obviously just being just a genuine good person. Okay, there's a very fine line between that's a religious belief that was instilled in you versus it's just common sense that was taught to you by your parents. Okay, what the difference is, who knows? In a lot of cases,
I think that would be hard for me too, because you and Mom really taught me to be very open and to listen to people if they have a different point of view or a different way of seeing things.
Yep.
I genuinely can't imagine just saying, well, that's not what's written in XYZ text that my church says or whatever. I can't imagine just shutting the door on a person or their beliefs like that.
From an interpretive science point of view, I can't do that. I would not be able to do that. I mean, things that are factual, like 1 + 1 = 2, I will shut the door on you all day long.
Sure. But you guys definitely taught me to respect science and math.
Things that require you to think on a different plane, just interpret the words that are written. You can't shut a door. It's like I spent 8 weeks or something like that in high school English interpreting Shakespeare. Okay, well, who might have shut the door on my fellow student that's next to me that interprets a line or a paragraph from Shakespeare different from me? Okay, now I'm comparing Shakespeare to religion. I get it, but I'm trying to figure out a good point
it's
there.
It's a text where the author's no longer alive and lots of people study it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And now everybody's interpreting it the way they want to interpret. So who's right and who's wrong in a lot of senses? I don't know. But without listening to each other and understanding each other's point of view, it makes it very difficult to say and reform yourself, if nothing else. We're put on this earth. You have to learn to mold and adjust and always reevaluate how you can be here.
You said something similar to me last year around this time, actually. I was in Austin for Easter because I'd been there for work, and so I decided to stay with you and our family, and they invited us to Easter Mass. And I remember they were doing a lot of, they were bringing in the catechumens, aka people who want to become Catholics, for people who don't know what that is. And there were like 19 people, and they have to go through the same ritual, the same like 5 to 10 minute ritual for each person. So it became a very long Mass. So you and I were the terrible Catholics, and we were like, we're going to take a walk in the gardens while this is going.
Yes.
And, we had a really big heart-to-heart about stuff, and I kind of expressed...
a good self-reflection walk.
It was a really good self-reflection.
I feel like we got a lot out of that one from a religious point of view, reflection. As the people that were being baptized or rebaptized that we skipped out on.
It was a really beautiful, like kind of walk, and you and I chatted about stuff, and we had very similar, a similar conversation. And in some ways it was really cool because, you're my father, and I was expressing a lot of doubt and a lot of fear, frankly, about like a lot of stuff going on at the time in my own life and in the world. And I was freaking out. And I'm like, what if God's not listening? And it was really cool to kind of have you be like,
it could have been really easy for me. Cool. It could have been really easy for me to slam the door on you and just say, listen, you're a Catholic. You need to start thinking like one. Okay. And think better of it. And that's the end of the story. Okay. But no, it was more important to just talk and understand you and listen to you than it was to do anything else. And I think that's what a lot of people need to be doing nowadays, is listen to each other and understand each other when it comes to, I just want to talk about because I'm lost.
Scared or lost. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just really nice. It felt like through that interaction, it felt like I was genuinely being comforted by a higher power, because I was like, I just feel accepted. And like that was really a really, I'm getting a little emotional, like a really nice moment for us. So thank you.
Well, but that's why I like the thought of religious campuses, where you could just go on campus and walk and reflect and talk. It's like walking around a college campus or any other campus. Like you just feel something. I don't know what, and it just makes you want to
explore those
that
conversations
moment.
And like feel everything. Yeah, it's amazing. So
yes, absolutely.
Anyway,
so
Dad, we are running out of time, unfortunately. Like this was something I've been wanting to talk about, frankly, for a while, and so this was kind of cool. I'm really happy that this was what the coin decided to flip on today. Maybe that was a sign, right? So yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway,
it's definitely insightful to get your feelings on it all, because we as parents, we try our best to figure out what is right for our kids, and so putting you in Catholic school definitely felt like the right thing, but I don't know how it felt for you all those years. So it's nice to hear all the information that you kind of absorbed over time and were able to reflect on a little bit as you went on in life. So that's cool.
Well, thank you. Please, share your experiences with religion, and specifically with your religious communities. We love to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Does not have to be Catholic at all. You could be anything. Just share with us your experiences. With your higher power. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear everybody's thoughts and what happens during whatever time of the year that they feel most religious in that sense, or where their beliefs, kind of work. Even if you're not connected with your religion anymore, maybe there's reasons why. We'd love to hear what disconnected you and how you feel you've changed because of that, or for the positive because you were connected.
Yeah.
So I think tell us in the comments and we'll talk.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a lovely rest of your week, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right. Yes, absolutely. Bye, everybody.